Welcome to Buckets. My name is Matt Moore. I'm a senior NBA writer. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Glad to have you with us. I'm joined tonight by Brandon Anderson, NBA futures analyst, and Jim Turvey. He writes for the Action Network. You can find him on Twitter at TurveyBets. You can find Brandon on Twitter at Wheaton Brando. And this is your Monday Best Bets episode in the NBA playoffs. We got two games on slate, which you can find in the Action Network app, the best way for you to track your picks. You get second information where the bets and money are coming in on. You get all sorts of cool info in there. Our trends pieces from Evan Abrams. You get to follow all of the great bettors that are in the Action Network app, and you can get our live shows like Green Dot Daily, this podcast, the NHL playoffs, going on line change, all sorts of cool stuff. Check it out in the Action Network app. Two games on Monday. Boston Celtics open their second round series versus the Philadelphia 76ers as 10-point favorites versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Total 213.5 in that one. Opened at 214.5. This also opened -6.5 and moved to -10. Spoiler alert! Joel Embiid's not going to play. In the late game, the Denver Nuggets look to go up 2-0 on the Phoenix Suns. Suns look to bounce back. Nuggets -4.5. Total is 227. Opened at 230.5. So heavy money on the under already. We'll go around the table. We'll give our best bets, and then we'll get into the cap. Let's start with Brandon Anderson. Brandon, you got some prop plays for us. What are your bets for the Monday slate?
Yeah, I'm very prop heavy tonight. I got two props, both points in the Celtics Sixers game. Give me James Harden's under 22.5 points. Back to that well that I was visiting in the first round. Give me Derek White over 13.5 points. And then in the Nuggets Suns games, I'm going to keep it simple again, like I did at game one. Just give me the Nuggets to win and cover, minus the 4.5. And then less simple, two props for you. Devin Booker over 36.5 points and assists. Kevin Durant over 36.5 points and rebounds.
Okay, got some combo bets in there. We'll get into all that and more. Jim, what are your bets for the Monday slate?
Yeah, so for the East Coast game, I'm targeting Tyrese Maxey. I'm looking at his points over. I'm also looking at the Sixers spread, potentially cover, and I don't hate putting those together. I'm not a big same game parlay guy, but I think those are actually kind of correlated closer than most. So I'm looking at potential same game parlay there. And then in the late game, I'm looking at Devin Booker points and assists as well as just assists. I like both of those angles. So those are my plays for Monday.
Okay. We'll get to Jim's Sixers bet here in a second. I'm going to have to bring up what I will now forever refer to as the Mitchell stat in regards to that one. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go in on the Booker on the over on the points and assists prop and the assist prop. Like, we'll talk about why, but like the book seriously hung 5.5, Brandon. Like they seriously hung a 5.5. Like, are we children? Like, why would they hang that number? And why would they just give us that money?
I do have an answer when we get there. I have an answer for you.
I am also going to take the Nuggets -4.5. I am also going to take the over 227. I am also going to take the over 213.5 in Sixers versus Celtics. Those are my three plays. Sixers, Celtics. I may have some props as we go along here. I usually actually come up with, like, when I talk with the boys, I usually get a better feel for whatever props I want to be on. Let's start with the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Boston Celtics. Let's start with that one. This line opens 6.5. Report comes out that's an LCL sprain. Shams basically like issues a report that's like Joel Embiid's really, 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 really hurt. And so the line moves all the way to 10 now. There's obviously no way for this to not indicate that the books went from doesn't seem like Embiid's going to play to like, oh, okay, Embiid's not playing. And then as soon as Embiid was ruled out, it does feel to me like this moved and then the market came in and then moved it further. And now we're at 10. This shouldn't be 10, Jim. Like, I agree with you. Like this should not be 10. It's a ridiculous line. I have this at in Boston, mind you, in Boston, I have this Celtics -4. That's like an appropriate line. Joel Embiid's not worth 6 points to the spread. Steph Curry, were he to grab the Infinity Stones, is not worth 6 points to the spread. No individual, like actual MVPs that deserve it are not worth 6. I'm just kidding, Philly. You get your award on Tuesday. Congrats on that. The no player is worth 6 points to the spread. So like this line is clearly wrong. I will let you give your cap for why you want the Sixers plus 10 here, and then I'll tell you why I'm not betting it.
Yeah, so when I was looking at this, I dug in. There were 7 games this year where the Sixers had Harden but didn't have Embiid. And I was thinking that it was going to just be totally open. It was going to be a little bit faster pace. I was pretty surprised. They slowed it down, actually, which I guess kind of makes sense if the ball's in Harden's hands more. But their pace, actually, they're the 5th slowest pace team in the league to start off with. But with Embiid out, Harden in, their pace would have been the slowest in the entire NBA. So I think that helps. The fewer possessions, they're going to be taking more threes with Embiid out. There's higher variance here. I guess if I like the spread, I should like the money line. I haven't worked up a money line bet just yet, but I really like them to kind of hang with Boston. I know I agree with you 100%. I probably would have it a little bit bigger than 4 with Embiid, but even still, I don't have Embiid worth 5-6 points. That's not where I'm at with this. So I really like, you can even get 10.5 in the market some spots. So and it's moving that direction. So keep an eye there because it may even move further. So yeah, I'm on the Philly side of this for game 1 just because the number seems too big.
And now for the Matt Mitchell stat. In the playoffs this season, we're just going to keep it to this season because we have big enough sample size. Teams that covered are now 45-5 straight up. So they have lost just 5 times when they've covered. If they've won the game, they are 45-5 and won 90%. Do you think that the Boston Celtics are winning this game, Jim?
This is a trap. I think that there is a better than 20% chance that the 76ers win this game. How is that for an answer?
That's a very good answer for this podcast. Okay. So then I will ask you, why aren't you betting the money line?
I honestly probably will by the time it comes around. I'm on the spread for now. I do think I'll sprinkle the money line at some point because I do think there's a better than 20% chance. I think it's sitting at plus 400 out there right now. So if the numbers say to do it, do it.
I will not bet the Sixers here. I will not bet the Celtics. This is not a line. Like, I won't bet the Sixers because I don't think they'll win. I won't bet the Celtics because this line is fucking stupid. Like, it's a stupid line. They know it's a dumb line, and they're just like, go ahead. No, we'll take that Sixers money. No, you're welcome to it. Take it. Come on. This season, when Joel Embiid did not play, this season, when Joel Embiid played 0 minutes, 12-5. 12-5 this season when Joel Embiid did not play, straight up and against the spread. Clearly very valuable. And so I won't look. He's obviously huge this matchup. He's their best player. He's the most dominant guy. It's the playoffs. It's very relevant. But like, I just can't get there to a number. Brandon, do you have like you playing a spread side here is like the least Brandon thing to do, but I do want to get your thoughts on what you think about the number.
Yeah, when I turned in my best bets to you before the podcast, like a few hours before this, and then right before we started taping, I said, you know what? Let's skip that one. If I had to play a side, I was going to play the Celtics first half -5.5, under the premise that Boston is way better because Embiid is not playing. Celtics should win the game. I don't want to take the 10 points, though. Oh my gosh, that's so many points. It's way too many points. Clearly, I don't want to take the 10 points. So what if they just come out and, like, to me, the case for the first half was going to be, well, did you watch Denver Phoenix the other night? Because remember how Denver kind of didn't look that good like a 1 seed, and then they played a team that they actually cared about, and then they looked pretty good like a 1 seed. That's the case for Boston. We'll get back to that series too. But Boston was a great first half team all season. Like, they're one of the top net ratings. Philadelphia is fine, but Boston has been really good in that spot. So if anything, I was going to lean that direction and just say, okay, they've heard all the criticism of like, oh, you kind of like loafed through the Atlanta series and maybe they're not that good, blah, blah, whatever. I feel like they're going to come out more locked in at home and kind of try to try to take care of business quickly. But I don't feel like that enough to actually bet it. So it's not a best bet because I don't really know if I trust Boston. And 2, Doc Rivers, Glenn Rivers, as our friend Raheem Palmer would call him, we give him a lot of crap. The one spot Doc Rivers shows up sometimes is on those undermanned spots.
Yeah.
And we know too, the spot where we count the team out and they boost the lineup, and then that team so very often covers and hangs around too long. And oh boy, do the Celtics like to let those sort of teams hang around. They just stole all my money for 2 weeks doing so. So that's where I'd be at on the spread. But I feel a little queasy on it. So I think I'm just going to sit out and play the props instead.
Well, and another point to you sitting it out, the Sixers, different team, Embiid's out into playoffs, but they were one of the better fourth quarter net rating teams all year. Usually that was in a winning effort, but in terms of a backdoor cover, that's a scary stat to have as well.
Doc Rivers in game 1s as a dog, 4-7 against the spread at 36%. Doc Rivers for the playoffs as a dog, 40-34-1 at 54%. So not nearly as bad. Let's take a look at.
Well, what about Doc Rivers when everyone has counted him out against the spread? What's the stat for that? Do we have that one?
I don't think I have a filter for that in Bet Labs. I'll check and see. It passed the first round when Doc is a dog, 22-23, 49%. So I don't like anything there. What I do like is the over. When Embiid has not played this season, 10-7 to the over. This goes back a couple of years too. If we look at going back the last 3 seasons, and this is with honestly a worse offensive core. The trend has hit pretty consistently with Embiid out to go ahead and take the over. 19-14 in the last 2 seasons, into the over at 58%. So look, this number is really low. I am not leaning on my models from regular season at this point, where the playoffs are an entirely different engine. Jim, I hear you on the pace thing, but you mentioned it in there. Like, Sixers are going to shoot more threes. Like, Embiid's out, fewer free throws, but they're going to run pace and they're going to run space. Like, that's what they're going to do. Even if they don't run necessarily fast, right? Even if Harden is like trying to control this, the offense will probably be efficient. And then on the other end of this, if Brandon's right and like the Sixers are serious about this and like really buckle down, guess what that looks like? That looks like Missoula ball, which is a ton of threes. It means them bombing from 3, getting turnovers off Harden, running the other direction. I think there's a number of paths for us to hit this over here, especially a number at 213.5, Jim.
Well, and to your point, I was looking, so I found that pace thing, and so I instantly was like, oh, let's look towards an under. And in those games, the games did not go under. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to stay away. So they do slow things down, but to your point, it's more threes, it's more efficient in a sense, and I couldn't get there on an under. So I'm with you there.
Okay. Brandon, you've got Derek White over 13.5 points. I want to hear what you like about that in this game.
Yeah, and just real quick to chime in on the over-under case, because I actually looked at that as well. I will be, I think, looking for unders in the series. We'll talk about it on the series preview podcast. That my notes kind of said lean under, but my notes are leaning under because they're leaning under on the Embiid Sixers. And so I was like, though, until we see that Embiid is out and then what happens, you better stay away and be safe. So I think there's things about both teams' profiles that make it, I think the scoring will be a little harder to come by in this one, not necessarily because of great defense, just because of some of the matchup stuff. But I think it's a stay away, but I'm not too sure what to make of the fact that I am effectively leaning against both of your best bets. I'm leaning under and leaning Celtics. And I think what that tells me is that it's a good thing I'm not betting both of those, because I think my uncertainty is showing a little bit.
I get the under. I get the under here, but is the under based off of like, my question for you is like, are you like, well, I don't think there's gonna be much scoring, but like put that versus a 213.5 line is my
right. Yeah, I mean, look, to be totally transparent, the way I play totals, I don't have a model. I don't have a number I'm going against. The way I play totals, the number I'm going against is the number that's set. I basically am trusting the market to set what is an efficient line, and then saying, okay, but according to what I think that the markets think, do I expect more or less scoring? And if my mind triggers, I think this is going to be a more than we think or less than we think, then that's when I take a look at it. So I don't have a good number to compare that to. It's a good critique. it is a low number, but it's also the playoffs, and we've seen some low numbers.
I think an interesting question here is like, do you think that the 76ers without Joel Embiid can be more or less successful than the Atlanta Hawks were versus Boston? Because like, this is the dirty secret, is like Boston's defense is shaky. It's not bad, it's just shaky. Like, there's a scenario where you're right, Brandon, where the Celtics bring their A game and lock down, and the Sixers score like 95 points, and it's like, this is why Joel's the MVP, and that's like a very real possibility. But there's also like a wide range of outcomes. There's also an outcome where like that happens, and the Celtics put up 125, right? And we go and we hit anyway. So like, I feel okay about the over, but.
So let me answer your question with going to my other prop here, because I think it actually is the answer to your question. With Joel Embiid out, I try to, assuming Embiid would be out, not just this game, into the series, I was like, okay, what's the case for Philly? Devil's advocate to myself. We all know on Buckets podcast, I'm not the biggest Sixers fan in the world. So be a devil's advocate. How can they get there? The first answer on the list has to be James Harden. It has to be Harden has a huge series. It's a big problem for me because it's the playoffs and it's James Harden, but he's had some good series. He's honestly had a lot of good series. We give him a lot of crap. He's had some very, very bad games and very big moments. He's had a lot of good series. In this particular series against these defenders, all the guys that they can throw at him, we've talked about this all year that I was worried about that. And on top of it, I don't think James Harden is healthy. I don't think that he is playing like the James Harden that, certainly not the one he used to be. He hasn't been that this year anyway, but just he hasn't looked the same down the stretch here. I was surprised, actually, guys, in the season, in the 4 games against Boston, in the season, in the 4 games against Boston, Harden actually was really good. He averaged 25.5 points, 3.5 threes a game. He got to the line almost 9 times a game. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Harden can actually beat this team. But if you look at the more recent stretch, last series, he averaged 17.3 points a game. It's not a lot, but he hasn't been scoring a ton this year. It's a little bit down from usual. But basically, one game he hit 7 threes. That was pretty much his entire points. One game he had 7 free throws. That's nice, but he only had 4 the whole rest of the series. And one game he hit 5 twos. What I'm seeing overall is for the series, Harden made 14 threes, 42%. That's great. He shot 9 of 34 on 2-pointers. 9 of 34 is 26%. That is horrendous. That is Russell Westbrook shooting 3-pointers horrendous, but they're worth 2, and he's not getting fouled anymore. He only got 11 free throws the whole series. So now we have a guy that is not attacking the rim. By the way, the Celtics are very good at 2-point defense, so that's not going to help. He had a 1 game all series with more than 2 2-pointers. It's not new. This was a trend that we talked about previous podcasts. This has been happening the last couple of weeks of the season as well, since I think he triggered that Achilles injury. So I don't think Harden can have a big game. To me, this is kind of my version of saying I think Boston's going to win. This is my Boston to win bet is I think if Harden goes under 22.5 and doesn't score a whole lot, I don't see a lot of paths for Boston or for Philadelphia to win. I don't see him hitting a lot of twos. 22.5 is the line. If I do a quick little math for you, if I assume he's only going to get 6 points on twos and free throws, which is more than he's been getting for a while now, he's got to hit 6 threes to get to that number. I don't think he's going to hit 6 threes. The math would usually say he wouldn't. So I'm taking the Harden under, and it's my way of answering your question about the over-under, and it's the way I'm backing Boston here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Harden unders. Your Derek White thing is for the series. Is that correct?
No, that's for this one. That one's real quick. Derek White, I just noticed in the season, the last 3 times he played Philadelphia was really good. Averaged 21 points a game. He averaged 3 threes a game in those. Against Atlanta, he played 32 minutes a game, scored 17 points a game. He had 18 or more 4 times out of the 6 games. He's just good. He is one of those guys that you do not need to take off the court. He's always available to play because he's not going to hurt you. So he is trustworthy. He is, shall I say, not Marcus Smart. He stays out on the court. He's going to get minutes. He's going to get his shots up. The line is 13.5. I just feel like the way he's played lately, we're probably getting a few 2-3 points there. So that's it.
I have one more for this one. I'm actually going to do a same game on FanDuel. I'm going to do Tatum 1+ steals, Tatum 30+ points, 168. Tatum led the Celtics in the regular season and postseason in points off of turnovers. More Harden equals more turnovers. That's just like a base thing. Part of this is also they'll still run pick and roll with B-ball Paul and Harden. And what he'll do is he'll try and hit the cross court pass to Tobias Harris in the corner. Tatum will be on that matchup enough to where he'll pick that off. And so that gives me the steal. And then there's like any number of ways that Tatum gets to 30+ in this game, including he'll hunt their smaller guys on switches. And that's how he'll get there. So I'll throw that one in there as well. Second game.
Wait, Jim's got Maxey, right?
Oh, yeah. Jim, hit me with a Maxey bet.
Yeah. So this one, again, looking at those 7 games with Embiid out, Harden in, Maxey averaged 28.1 points per game in those 7 games. He cleared, so his line's right now at 23.5. He cleared that in 5 of the 7, but the one of those 2 that he missed, he was at 23. The others, he was at 17. He led the team in scoring in 6 of those 7. He gets the most field goal attempts in almost every one of those. Brandon, I'm with you. I don't think Harden is fully healthy right now, and so I have to assume he's going to be looking to, instead of if he can't attack the rim and successfully score, he's going to be looking to kick. And I think that means more Maxey. I was thinking about Harris too. Harris just scares me. He's so inconsistent. Maxey is much more consistent for a guy who's been in league. He's been in league a while now, but less time than Harris. So I really like the over there, and I do think it correlates kind of closely with Philadelphia covering. I think if Maxey has a big night, I also like an escalator potentially. At FanDuel, you can get him for 35 points at plus 850. So if you want to get a little crazy on the same game parlays, I don't usually give those out here, but I like that correlation for game 1.
In the late game, Phoenix Suns take on the Denver Nuggets, looking to even the series 1-1. Brandon and I both have the Nuggets minus 4.5. Let's start with the Nuggets pick, Brandon. I think the way that I think this probably goes is Denver once again has a big lead at half. The Suns figure something out in the second half and they gain some momentum, but 4.5 is close enough for me to go ahead and take the Nuggets. I will tell you that if this was any higher, obviously with Phoenix being as good as they are, plus that kind of trend, I would not be betting this or go the other way. But I do think this is close enough for me to get home. Monty Williams said after the game of game 1, he said, well, we're going to have to switch up some things on Jamal. We can't let him get those kind of shots after Jamal Murray went for 34 points, 9 assists. Here are the things that they can do. You can switch. You don't want to do that. Like, I'm just warning you right now, you don't want to do that, because what that means is that Landry Shamet, Josh Okogie, Torrey Craig, Damian Lee, and Suns fans want campaign, which I don't really think they understand what they're asking for here. That person then switches on to Nikola Jokic. The problem is not that Nikola is going to back that person into the basket. The problem is that Nikola will then put that person back in a pick and roll. That's what they do, is they will put them, and they won't just switch it back. That's where confusion happens. Whenever a guard is defending a big, it gets really confusing. The other option they can try and do what the Nuggets did to Devin Booker, and they can blitz him in the pick and roll. Let's put 2 on ball, and we'll force the ball out of Jamal's hands. Then you have Nikola Jokic with a 4-on-3. Again, that results in Nikola Jokic, the single best decision maker maybe in the NBA, in a 4-on-3 downhill versus your Suns defense. Not advisable. So I don't know what they're going to do with that coverage. Maybe they find something that works, but I am very skeptical of that. I think that they will struggle in this one. Denver is really good at home. They will continue to be very good at home. Denver, like, game 1 is not proof of concept. Game 1 doesn't decide everything. I think the Suns will win some games in the series, but I do think that a lot of people kind of realize, like, oh, like, Denver's actually good too in that game 1. We'll see what happens, but I do like the Nuggets minus 4.5 here, and I'll take the over because I think the Suns probably do start to fire a little bit more from 3. Why do you like the Nuggets, Brandon?
Yeah, a lot of similar reasons. Jim and I are both big soccer fans, and in soccer, always popular these days, the advanced metrics. After the game, they put up the XG, the expected goals, and there's a little map with the dots all over where the shots were. And occasionally when one team just like crushes the other team, there's just like dots everywhere. And one of the guys will put the caption, "That's a paddling." That was my caption of game one. That was a paddling. That was Denver's expected points per shot was just like, "Please, sir, may I have some more?" They got anything that they wanted in this game. And Phoenix's defense just did not look up to the task here. And really, that was the cap coming in. To mean not to do a victory lap, but my thought on game one and on the series was what we saw in game one. That was what I expected coming in. That's what we saw. I got to be honest, I started on Phoenix or maybe a Phoenix second quarter here. I try to get creative. I don't think I should get creative. I think I should just stick with what my cap was. It's what we saw. Here's the math that we talked about. Denver in game one had 17 more field goal attempts, 14 more three-point attempts, 11 more rebounds, 7 fewer turnovers. Guess what, guys? When you have 7 fewer turnovers and 11 more rebounds, that's 18 extra possessions to get shots up. They actually finished with identical effective field goal percentage. Identical. Well, if you have 18 more tries to get those shots and you're getting identical results on them, and by the way, Phoenix's guys didn't shoot horribly in this game. They weren't great, but they were fine. That's the math problem. I'm sorry. That's it. That's the math problem. This is a math game. Denver is good. Denver is better at home. Denver looked the better part. I'm not daunted by the 4.5. I just feel like keep it easy and stick with the team that I like here.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Booker. Real quick before we get to Booker, which is all through. Well, no, let's do Booker first. So all of us are on Booker. Like this is a very popular one. Again, I did the escalator in game one with the 5.5 and then the 6.5 and the 7.5. Like I felt good about Booker here. The coverage was really interesting. They blitzed. They did. It's very rare that I hit anything as solidly as I hit this in terms of like predicting what the coverage was going to be. I said the Nuggets' best path is blitz Devin Booker and Kevin Durant in pick and rolls, play drop versus Chris Paul, and dare him to beat you. And that's exactly what they did. That's 100% what they did. Now, Chris might get aggressive here and score. Like that's going to be like a big like that's going to be a big factor in this game too. If Chris is on one, then the Suns can definitely win this game and even the series 1-1. Booker, it was fascinating because Booker hated what he saw there. The Clippers' strength was that they could switch everything, right? Like switch. But the problem was like Clippers really decided not to play a lot of their best defenders. Like they decided to play small dudes and not play Robert Covington and keep Zubac on the floor. Like Ty Lue coached a pretty shitty series, all things considered. Like you have all these strengths that will mess with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and he didn't do them. Like it doesn't matter if you switch, if it's like Russell Westbrook on a guy. It doesn't matter if you switch, if it's Bones Highland. The Nuggets, on the other hand, were like, they committed to their scheme, which was anybody but you. That's like their best tactic, which is we know we can't contain with our big man. So we're just going to do everything we can to get the ball out of your hands. You're not going to be passing. Like you are not going to be getting one-on-one coverage versus these guys. You're not getting switches. You're not getting the easy stuff. We're putting pressure on you. And Booker was annoyed. Like he was annoyed like it was one of the summer runs when guys were doubling. And he was like, come on, man, I just want to work on my game. Like he was visibly irritated, which is really impressive that he still managed to be as efficient as he was and put up the numbers that he did. He still had really great numbers. But usually in situations where a team is going to blitz, I tend to go the other way, where I'm like, look, if he's going to pass, he's not going to generate assists out of that. He's going to generate hockey assists out of that. And the big man's going to have assists. DeAndre Ayton's not comfortable there. He's just not. I don't think Jacques Landale. Jacques Landale. I always get it confused. Jacques Landale, who's good, by the way. I don't think he's comfortable making passes out of that. So like a lot of it's either going to be Devin reversing to the other corner or Devin hitting Ayton or Landale for like short jumpers in the like, and they will take those. And that's how he generates those assists because the Nuggets have no reason to switch. They will probably vary up some stuff. What they might do a little bit is that with their first possession of the game, the Suns got Booker and got MPJ on a switch and went right at him. They might go to that a little bit more, but in general, I think they're going to find that Denver's still going to blitz him consistently. And that, to me, opens up Booker's assist prop. Booker had 5 in that first quarter, slowed down the rest of the game, but that was still enough to get us here. They're going to come in bunches, but I still like the assist over. Let's start with Jim. You like points and assists. You like assists. Tell me why you like this.
Yeah, I mean, your cap was awesome. My cap is a lot more straightforward. It's that since KD has joined, Booker has cleared this number. They keep hanging this number, and I'm going to keep playing it until they boost it, because he just is in much more of a, like, he is comfortable in this facilitator role with KD on the team. They're having Paul off ball a little bit more. Booker's bringing it up a lot more. He's cleared this number in 4 of the 6 playoff games. He cleared it coming into the postseason. I want to say it was at like a 70-80% clip. I don't have the number right in front of me, but he's clearing this number early and often. And this is kind of my way of betting Phoenix a little bit. I'm not comfortable betting Phoenix because this is more of a vibe thing than any sort of like number play or any sort of like matchup breakdown. But this Phoenix team to me just has a whiff of Warrior. Like we're new to the Suns. We're still figuring them out, but they have a whiff of the Warriors of like need to get punched in the face to really wake up. And I kind of feel, and again, this is a feel, so I don't want to go fully on board with the play, but it kind of feels like the Suns are going to show up for game 2. And I'm on the Nuggets in this series. I'm staying on that side, but it feels like this is a game where the Suns kind of wake up and are like, oh wait, okay, this isn't just going to be a sweep for the Nuggets or Nuggets in 5. Like this will be a good series, like we were imagining at the beginning, and this kind of feels like the spot that gets there.
Brandon, we can talk about the if you got stuff on the assist side, but I'd like to talk about the point side too here, because I do think like Book's still hitting tough shots. Like he still shot efficiently. Yeah. So I think there's opportunities. Like I think points and assists is a way to be maybe a little bit safer with it. Why do you lean on the points and assist side here for Book?
Yeah, so I want to talk about the assists as part of that, because so we talk about potential assists on here a lot as kind of a good measure of, okay, well, you know, we know if the guys are going to hit the shots. So Booker had 8 assists in game 1. Jim, how many potential assists do you think Booker had in game 1?
I want to say was it like a comically large number? Was it like 22 or something?
It's not. It is, in fact, 8. According to NBA.com, wow. He had 8 potential assists and 8 assists. Now, I will say this. On NBA.com, it says that potential assist is an estimated stat. I don't think it's like every single pass exactly. However, it's concerning because, as we always say, you typically convert about half of those. So that would imply closer to 4. That is why I've been playing the Booker over assists. All the reasons you said, Jim, I think it was 6 of 8 in the regular season with Durant, so 75%. It's been great. He's 6.8 assists per game with Durant. That only 8 potentials did throw me off a little bit. So that's why I pivoted to the points plus assists, kind of just to give myself a buffer. And this is a little bit, as you both know, I decided to go in on the Looney rebounds assist thing on game 6 and got blown out of the water because we had a coaching change. This is also me admitting that I don't really know which version of Booker we're going to get. Like, Matt, the stuff you talked about on will he pass, will he score? This is me hedging and saying, well, let me cover my bases here. Maybe he does pass. Maybe we get 10, 11 assists. Great. Well, I'm probably safe. Then I only need 26 points now. Maybe he doesn't, but it's because he's just taking a ton of shots. So last 5 games, Devin Booker is averaging 37.4 points. Just points. Last 5 games, he is averaging more points than the points and assists line, and 7.4 assists as well. He's over this line for the 5. The only one he wasn't is game 1. He had 35 points plus assists, but may I remind you, the game ended in a blowout. Booker sat the last 5 minutes. He very clearly would have hit the over if we needed to, and that ties to my Durant play. Do you want me to go into that, or are we still on Booker?
I will just add that the other significant thing is in the second half, in the fourth quarter, most notably, Booker realized that he could get downhill. This is going to be a big battle for them. Again, like we talked about the 3-point stuff, like it's going to be a big battle for them trying to figure out, like, they need to not take as many 2s and take more 3s. They don't want to do that. They want to take pull-up 2s. They need to get to the rim. Like, they need to play Morey ball. The Nuggets are susceptible to Morey ball. The Suns are the least Morey ball team imaginable. They take inefficient shots at an extremely efficient clip. That's their identity. But Book seemed to realize he needs to get downhill more and there's no rim protection. Once you realize there's no rim protection, guys go at it more. I have a feeling Book gets more aggressive there. I need your Durant cap, and I need it quickly.
Yeah, so it's tied to the Booker thing. We got game 2 for this game, and then we don't play again until Friday. So for the first time all playoffs, the Suns guys did not play 40,000 minutes in their game. Booker played 40, Durant played 36. They're kind of rested, guys. For them, that's pretty rested. We play tonight. I think they're playing literally every second they can handle. We're going to get as many minutes and seconds as we possibly can get from Durant and Booker. We've already seen that happen. This is a game you have to save the season. You can't go down 0-2. I think we get all the Booker, all the Durant, and all the shots. So give me all the overs. Durant has scored like clockwork, like he always does, 28 to 31, right in that range, 4 games in a row. He had, I think, 14 rebounds last game. His rebounds have been up. He has a 9 and 11 in the playoffs. I hope we might get a little bit of Durant at center, perhaps, sort of lineup. So that would help with the rebounding as well. He's gotten over 36.5 rebounds and points, 3 straight, average 30 and 10 in that stretch. Game 1, 29 and 14. Yeah, despite missing the 5 minutes. So 43 points and rebounds. So, and I like playing them both. I will play both together because A, I think either one of them could just score 37 on their own and hit the over. And B, I find it very hard to believe that both of these dudes will not hit either one of the numbers. So it's a bit of an insurance play. I think they can both hit, but I think at least one of them does.
That's going to do it for buckets. For your best bets for Monday, make sure to check out the Action Network app. We'll have a series preview on Sixers Celtics in the feed as well. Tomorrow we'll have bets for the Tuesday slate. Make sure to tune in for that. My thanks to Jim Turvey for joining us tonight at Turvey Bets, and Brandon Anderson at Wheaton Brando. We'll see you guys again next time. My thanks to David Payne, our producer. Until we see you again, do not forget for us to get buckets.